November 4th, 1993. You pierced my top left and right corners. You grabbed my top left patch and shielded yourself. 11:07 p.m. You turned on your side. 12:31 a.m., April 13th, 1997. You squeezed my top border. You haven't moved me in 5 days, 10 hours, 37 seconds, 255 milliseconds. 6:53 p.m., June 19th, 2013. You wrapped me around your shoulders.
Hi, my name is Liza Stark, and I am an educator, designer, and e-textile practitioner. While I was at laboratory, I had this project in mind to make a quilt that talks to you, basically, using a bunch of different techniques around electronic textiles or e-textiles. E-textiles is a practice that draws from a lot of different places. So basically you can think of e-textiles as building circuits out of fabric and thread, but not just necessarily any fabric, like conductive fabric and conductive thread. So you can make your own sensors, you can make a computer out of conductive yarn, or you can make sensors out of resistive fabric. You can do all sorts of fun things. So I got into that about 8 years ago when I entered grad school, and I was taking a physical computing class, which is basically working with electronics and small computers, and a coding class, and a soft circuits class. And I had been struggling with coding. I had never really worked with technology. And then I found this whole field that merged technology with craft and textiles, which I had a background in. And it opened a ton of new doors for me, and I started pursuing it artistically, but also as a means to introduce different populations to coding and to building with electronics. So the Tell Tale Quilt, aka Sonic Quilt, aka Shadow Quilt, all of these different permutations, is a project that I've been working on for almost a year and a half now. And it sort of started as a way to try and, well, actually, let me step back a little bit. So there's this really cool thing that you can do with these materials where if you take apart a speaker, all a speaker really is a coil of wire, a very strong magnet, and a surface for a signal to vibrate against. So that's very easily done just by embroidering a coil of conductive thread, putting a magnet behind it, and running an audio signal through it. It's not incredibly loud, but I think that that is a really interesting affordance to play with at the speaker because it's a little bit more intimate. So for a long time I've been wanting to create a surface that would allow me to explore what an array, a matrix of these speakers would look like and sound like and feel like as an experience for people. So that's sort of where the Tell Tale Quilt was born out of. And I decided to give it the form of a quilt. I've been very interested in the intersection of craft and technology and what that means, sort of the associations we have with technology and the associations that we have with craft, especially right now, sort of the slowness and reflective nature of craft and the speed and just sort of sometimes spiraling out of control sort of progress that technology has today. So the quilt in its current form is meant to be an exploration into how a soft object might be embedded with technology in the future, so it's a little bit speculative, and what information that object might collect about us. There are a few different layers to this quilt, so in one sense it's a quilt that is collecting and sharing stories as an active object. In another sense, in a deeper layer, it's about what information the objects around us collect and how they form profiles of us and what that means for how we form our identities of ourselves and just based on all of the data around us. So I think right now the field of electronic textiles, e-textiles, is really fascinating, and people have different nuanced understandings of what that means depending on what they do. Some people think of it as fashion technology, so putting lights into dresses. Some people think of it in terms of assistive technology, so building rehabilitative wearable devices that are soft on your body. Some people think of it largely in terms of craft and sort of like a new artisanal approach to tech. And other people think of it in other different kinds of ways. So right now, I think the field is so young. It's really only been around for maybe 20 years, and that's only started in like largely research-based institutions. And so I think there's still just a lot of work to be done. I think really, really interesting sort of spaces to explore right now are around privacy. So what does it mean to put technology on our body? What does that mean in terms of best practices around data collection and protection? And then also sustainability. So right now in the world, e-waste and textiles are two of the biggest producers of waste. So if indeed we think that we'll have technology embedded into all of our clothing, we need to start talking about solutions for that now. So my laboratory experience has been absolutely wonderful. In truth, I've never done a residency for this long before, and it was so I don't have a ton to compare it to. However, it was my experience at laboratory has been so relaxed and wonderful, and as a town, Spokane is incredibly welcoming. There are so many sort of hidden gems around this town that are good sort of nuggets of inspiration to draw from. So the networks and the community and the relationships that you form with people here are wonderful, and Chatham, who runs laboratory, has been wonderful in sort of helping be the go-between and connect you to people that can help you inform your project and inspire your project, whether that means printing in somebody's garage or hooking you up with a writer's group. So it's been a really incredible time that I've had here. So if you want to know more about my work, I do a lot of things other than e-textiles as well. You can find me at thesoftcircuiteer.net, and you can check out all my work there and all of the different resources and events and workshops that I do.